All right, let's talk about something personal. It's a question I bet almost every single one of us has thought about, probably at a very specific moment. Just how long does it take for the food you eat to, well, make its grand exit? You know the feeling, right? You've just finished a really satisfying meal, and within minutes, maybe half an hour, you feel that unmistakable rumble. And your first thought is probably, whoa, that went right through me. But did it really? Yeah, I'm here to tell you that's probably not what you think it is. The food you just enjoyed has only just begun its very, very long journey through your body. What's happening is something else entirely, and it's actually pretty fascinating. So, if it's not the lunch you just finished, what is the real story? Well, to figure that out, we've got to follow your food on its pretty incredible journey through your digestive system. And trust me, you should think of it as a multi-stage marathon, not a sprint. Okay, so our little food tour has three main stops. First up, the stomach. Think of it like a big old mixing bowl. From there, it heads into the long and winding roads of the small intestine, which is where all the real magic of nutrient absorption happens. And then finally, the large intestine, the last stop before, well, you know. So how long does this all take? Let's put some numbers on it. Your food spends a solid 2 to 6 hours just being churned up in the stomach. Then it moves on for another 4 to 8 hours in the small intestine. But here's the kicker, that last number. It can hang out in the large intestine for 10 to 20 hours, or even longer. Isn't that wild? Okay, let's do some quick math here. When you add all that up, you start to see that this is not a quick trip at all. The grand total time from plate to porcelain, it's probably way longer than you think. On average, we're talking about 24 to 48 hours for the whole process. That's 1 to 2 full days for your body to deal with a single meal. Some sources even say it can take up to 72 hours. Crazy, right? So what does this actually mean for that gotta go now feeling right after you eat? Well, it's basically your digestive system making room. When new food hits your stomach, it triggers a reflex, kind of like a signal to your large intestine that says, hey, we got new stuff coming in, time to clear out the old. So you're not passing your lunch, you're passing yesterday's dinner or even the day before. But of course, that 24 to 48-hour window is just an average. The actual speed of your personal digestive highway can change. A lot. There are all these little speed bumps and accelerators that can affect the timing. And one of the biggest factors is what you actually eat. The difference is huge. Look at this. Water, it can zip right through your stomach in like 30 minutes tops. Fruits and veggies, they're pretty quick too. But a steak or a piece of fish, oh man, that could be sitting in your stomach just breaking down for up to 8 hours before it even moves on to the next stage. And it's not just what you eat, it's how you're feeling when you eat it. Check out this quote. Turns out stress has a direct physical impact on your gut. When you're all stressed out, your body literally slows down digestion. It's like it puts the brakes on. That's why a stressful lunch can leave you feeling so bloated and just blah. Okay, now this next part is really cool. It's a fascinating story about how scientists in Korea actually watched an entire nation's digestion slow down in just 10 years. It's like a medical detective story, and it tells us a ton about our modern lives. Our story starts back in 1990. A group of researchers in Korea wanted to measure something called colonic transit time. That's just a fancy way of saying how long food spends in the large intestine. They wanted to get a baseline for healthy adults in the country. And what did they find? Just under 11 hours. Now, that's a pretty quick trip through that final stage, especially when you compare it to Western averages back then, which were way up around 35 hours. But this is where the plot thickens. Fast forward just one decade, it's the year 2000. Another group of scientists decides to run the exact same study. They were curious, Korean society and diets were changing so fast, they wanted to see if it had an effect. And the result? It was absolutely staggering. The average time had jumped to almost 36 hours. Think about that. It more than tripled in just one decade. What in the world could cause a change that massive across an entire population? This chart really drives it home, doesn't it? I mean, look at that jump. From just over 10 hours to nearly 36. This wasn't some minor statistical wiggle. It was a sign that something fundamental had changed. So, what was the culprit? Well, the researchers who did the 2000 study had a pretty clear suspect:
Diet. Specifically, a huge drop in the amount of fiber people were eating. As the national diet shifted away from more traditional, high-fiber foods, the entire digestive system just slowed down. It's such a powerful, real-world example of how much our food choices matter.
Okay, this is all super interesting, but what does it really mean for you and me? For that feeling you get after a big meal? Let's connect all these dots and talk about why this actually matters. Now, I should mention there's an exception to that 1 to 2 day rule. For some people, especially those with conditions like irritable bowel syndrome or IBS, the gut signaling can be, well, a little haywire. It can be hypersensitive, and that can lead to super fast transit times. So if you consistently feel that right after a meal urge, it might be something worth chatting with a doctor about. All right, so let's wrap this up. What are the big takeaways here? First, your digestion is a long journey, a total marathon. Second, what you eat, think fiber versus fat, veggies versus meat, totally changes the timeline. Third, your brain and your gut are linked. Stress is a major speed bump for digestion. And finally, like that Korean study showed us, how fast or slow things are moving can be a really good indicator of your overall dietary health. So the next time you finish a meal, just take a second to think about this incredible multi-day journey that's just getting started inside you. Your body is doing all this amazing work, and the speed it's working at, it tells a story about your food, your stress, and your health. The real question is, what story is yours telling you?